here. We're live. It's at 4:30 Psycho Challenge. Here we are, January the 6th, 4:30 a.m. It's Ron Howard. Ron is Jenkins the last name? I don't see it on the screen
No,
here.
that's Rob Jenkins, and it's Ron Rocz.
Ron Rocz. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah,
So
no worries.
you'll see it up on the corner of your screen, the QR code, if you want to track your daily activities or what you do. So today, I guess the purpose of this is this accountability call. So we get up here every morning at 4:30 just to make sure we're doing our thing, and then we track our daily activities through the tracker, through the QR code. So hey, today what I want to bring up is the commitment that we might make, or do you make, to reading and the importance of reading, and not just reading business material, but what do you read and how much do you read a day? So like I can sit here and tell you I make a commitment to read 20 minutes a day. And on average, I read about 40 books a year. I know there's people that read more. I know there's people that read less. So I mix it up. I have like so many, I want to read myself. I like to read 4 to 5 spiritual books a year. I like to read maybe 4 or 5, or maybe probably more business books a year, but I'll read a lot of personal growth and development every year. So I make a commitment to reading, and I mix it up. So I definitely read 20 minutes every morning, and I read about 5 minutes right before I go to bed. And what they say to you, like sometimes we get hooked on, like I'm a personal growth and development junkie, and they tell you try not to read too much business or like that personal growth and development stuff before you go to bed, because if you do, then your mind is too active when you sleep. And you want to read something maybe more of a fiction type of thing, something that's enjoyable, so to put your mind at rest when you go to sleep and you'll have a better sleep. So that said, like I do that reading every day. Ron, do you make a commitment to reading every day?
I read every day, but it's not a number of books, right? Like, and especially through this, and I do read and listen to several books, and I'm always looking for different resources to do that, right? One of the ones that came up as we were, going through this was that Speechify product that Rob Jenkins was, looking at, where they almost have like an audible section, right? So there's a automated AI voice that will read the prompts, and it'll read it at a faster rate than you can read yourself, but you can process the information. And I heard a public speaker say that once, because when he was talking, he started to talk really fast, and he said, "You can still hear me, can't you, Rob?" Right? Like, and he was using that as an example. And he goes, people can listen much faster than they can read. So you can adjust the speed. And I tend to adjust the speed up, but I follow, and I find that it improves my reading speed and retention. When I do that, and that's the concept behind it. So I do Audible. Yes, I do read. And I do find that I consume a lot of my knowledge and information either throughout the day. But one of the things that I've really adjusted here is my focus during the working hours is more on working. And in the morning is where I'm consuming a lot of the information that I would have throughout the day. So it's fit nicely into my morning. So whether I'm watching, consuming training material via YouTube, and or reading a newsletter, and or reading or listening to a book, I consume it from a variety of information. But I don't do it as structured as 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. But I certainly do considerably more than 20 minutes on a daily basis. I mean, I probably an hour or two of reading a day. I spend a good portion of my time reading.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. I do it in the morning and I do it in the evening. Like during the day, I might read something. One of the commitments I need to do, I need to make it's a better job at reading our marketplace material. Like I'll read my personal growth and development. I read my spiritual stuff. I read business, some finance stuff. But I can do more of like the real estate, have more market knowledge and update there. And I do a decent amount, but I probably don't do enough. So I got to do a better job of that. And I'm not an Audible guy, so I'm a page turner, so it probably slows me down a little bit. So you like the Audible?
I do. It's been beneficial for me because I can also do it in a variety of times. Like I mean, I remember, the book that it was Tony Hsieh's "Delivering Happiness," the founder of Zappos.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a 50-mile bike ride. And I listened to it at 2 times speed, and I consumed the entire book going all the way out and back. It was I don't know if it was the entire book, but because it was a long book, but I remember coming back, and I think the combination of that, I never understood what they talked about, like a runner's high, or even like in cycling, after you get past those first couple miles, you forget about, the pain, and you start to, take in different information. And while I'm exercising, and I'm not an exercise um, junkie or triathlete or, an Ironman or anything like that, but when I have done that at many times when I'm taking a little bit more of an endurance type ride, it makes the time go by. And I focus and receive information differently. I feel like my head's in a different place.
Yes, I guess you get in that zone. They call it
Yeah.
the zone.
Yeah. Well, there's little distraction, right? Like I am sort of focusing on something else, but I'm not like road cycling where I'm worrying about traffic. I'm kind of like trail riding, like these long trails, these old rails to trails type systems. So I'm in nature and I'm just listening to information.
Yeah, I guess it's one thing to commit to reading, and two, commit to reading at a faster pace. Like I've taken a speed reading course years
Mhm.
ago, and it worked. But sometimes, in my logical mind says there's no way you can comprehend everything that's given to you at a faster speed. But I know there's evidence out there that says you can, and it's about trusting. Like we talk about trusting systems, right? So it's
Yeah.
about trusting that's trusting your own brain that it's going to absorb it and comprehend it. And if you're in a quiet space, if you're in that zone just to read, then it's easy to focus. So I'm a visual page turning guy. I don't trust the audible thing. So and I'm a visual learner too. So like I can remember I saw something on a certain spot on a certain page versus I heard it at 1 hour and 3 minutes in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if I'm like following instructions, if I was going to like, if it was like if I was reading something about updating our website or a process or a contract, I would want to see it on paper and go back and process the information. But if we're talking about like, like delivering happiness or talents overrated or, the E-Myth revisited, like the business related books that we all consume. Um, I do a lot of most of those on Audible. And I would say over the I know I look at my Audible library and eh, it's probably been 3 years. I would have to go back and look, but I have, about 100 titles that I've consumed through there. So, I would say complete titles are, probably, at least 30 a year would be my estimate. You had said 40, right? Like, so that would be listening, and then in addition to all the other items that I still consume.
Yeah, are you familiar with the guy Charlie Jones?
No, I'm not familiar with Charlie
Yeah,
Jones.
Charlie Jones. They call him Tremendous Charlie Jones, and
Okay.
he's got a big quote book, and funny guy, committed guy. But he says in his book, and I've listened to him on CDs before, but he says you become the books you read. You become the books you read, and a lot of people like to read they call it that smut stuff. So you put good stuff in, you get good stuff out. You put that bad stuff in, that junk in, junk's coming out. So the
Yeah.
more you focus on reading the good stuff, you're going to become what you read. And I didn't early on, I didn't buy into that, but over time, you find yourself just like spitting out or regurgitating the stuff you've read. So good stuff in, good stuff out.
Maybe we should share some of those things, right? Like as part of this, like I mean, any particular ones, maybe compare some notes that, maybe some lesser known ones that we stumbled upon. I mean, I think we've all read the traditional ones, but maybe if there's a book that was a standout, maybe we should share that with one another because some of them are less publicized, right? So,
Oh yeah, I mean, there's millions and millions of books, and like people say to me, "Oh, Rob, you probably read this one. Oh, Rob, you probably read that one," and they'll say, and "No, I haven't read it." And so you're right. There are books that some of us have read, others haven't, and they may be popular, and we just haven't heard about them. But yeah, I'm all game to share ideas and thoughts about what we've read and what the impact it had on us.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, obviously, certainly worth mentioning that, Ron was on a plane, still almost to his destination, and kicked off this call. And I have no idea what time it was up in the air where he was at, but I mean, he doesn't miss this. Clearly, he hit some uh, a disconnectivity issue there, but I think he's over the big pond. So
We'll call it turbulence.
turbulence. Yeah.
Yeah,
Either way, he was here. So
yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I failed to mention that, but he was on the screen at first. But yeah, kudos to Ron. He's never missed a day, and he told me I got on right before you did, and he said he was still an hour out. So for those who are listening, Ron Howard was on the plane an hour out of London, and he happened to get us on the internet here and continue his streak of doing this every day for, I think he said this is his 5th year.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's his 5th year of getting up early, but I think today, like in between these next 6, 7 days or something, was like 360 days of a streak, right to where he hadn't missed one. So this was probably one of his many close calls that maybe he had. But again, just the sense of, this morning was a little rough. My daughter was calling me at like 11 asking to sleep over at somebody's house, and just I had some commotion that was disruptive. And this morning I was like, I know he's on a plane. Is he really going to make it? I was like, if he makes it and I don't, right? I was like, that's so. I mean, the accountability is just being there for others, right? Like if you're going to go walk every single morning and you know that it's just you may not do it. I mean, I usually. I never really break my commitments, right? But if I know somebody may be standing out there in the rain and it's cold, you bet your ass I'm going to make sure I deliver. So
Yeah, that's a good point, Ron. And it's funny, like I've hit the snooze button. I talked early on this when we started this thing that when we hit that snooze button, we start resistance. We start the day out with resistance,
yeah,
and since we started this, I haven't hit the snooze button once. Alarm goes off, I get up. Now I might set it a little later, but I get up in here because I want to be here for you because I thought the same thing. Man, I'm tired. And then Ron sent that text out last night, and he goes, Rob Commadori is going to run the show today. I'm like, so you got to show up.
yeah, yeah. I hit the snooze button this morning, but I haven't it hasn't rang through. Like I hit the snooze button and then I think about those things, the commitment, and my head's still there. And I was just like, don't let that thing get, and as I'm walking around my room in the dark, then the snooze alarm will go off and my dog looks at me and my wife's like, what the hell? And then I kind of stumble out of the door.
Well, great stuff, Ron. Hey, let's end it with this. We got one big thing today going.
Oh, one big thing today. Actually, I've built out a lot of the city content for our areas. I'm actually going to try to build the top level counties that Ron and I were working on. So I'm going to look at building out that higher level site structure so he can help kind of backfill some of that structure that he and I had been working on. So without getting into too much of the specifics of it, we've been working on building out a lot of the areas for our website and optimizing it for certain keywords. And so that's been going on behind the scenes. Remember he said 3 counties and then 10 cities.
Yeah.
I started to realize that, man, there's 20 cities in this county that I want to do, and there's 15 over here. So, and we already had some in place. So we've gone back and revamped a lot of those. And I just haven't built the top level counties to align those under. So I'm going to look at those county pages today.
That's cool. Good stuff. Yeah, me, I gotta, when we get done this, I gotta work on I post a podcast every other Saturday. So I gotta make my podcast live for this week. And then I do a men's fellowship group the first Saturday of every month. So I got that at 7:30 this morning as well. So that's what I got going on.
There you go. Busy morning. Busy morning.
All right, everybody.
No days off.
Showing up. Ron Howard, great job. And we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya. Hopefully when we just log off, that'll post his, because I don't know if he has a post submission or if you've got a host button, but I don't know if we just log off is enough to syndicate it, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, he didn't give me any instruction. I'm just going to leave and there you go.
All right. See ya.
See you guys.